Did you know that gold was the best investment class for 2022? According to longtermtrends.net, gold has actually outperformed the S&P 500, Dow, and Bitcoin for 2022. So what are you waiting for? Open a gold IRA or silver IRA with Noble Gold Investments this month and receive a free 1/4 ounce American Gold Eagle coin with every qualified IRA of $50,000. You can't go wrong with Noble Gold Investments and their thousands of 5-star reviews. Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers, John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for sharing, liking, commenting, for subscribing, and hitting the notifications button so you'll get notified about new videos every day. Thank you also for joining us on our new channel, the Inspired Newsroom, for 2 daily shows at 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Central. We'll cover some of the breaking news in our own way, own perspectives every day. Link is right down here in the video description. All right, let's dive into it. As a new Congress is beginning its work in the United States under a Republican majority, it's interesting to note that while these majorities and while these parties shift back and forth between the Democrats and the Republicans, there's one secret party in America that has been ruling this nation for over 100 years. Almost no one is talking about them. No one realizes they even exist as such, but they hold more power than any president in any Congress. It's the FRP. It's the Federal Reserve Party. You might have heard of the Federal Reserve Bank that is in charge of this nation's currency. Since 1913, when the Federal Reserve Act was passed by a Democrat Congress. Both houses of Congress had a Democrat majority, and under a Democrat President, Woodrow Wilson, on December 23rd, 1913, the Federal Reserve Act was passed and signed into law. One of the most egregious acts in American history, a true act of war against the American people, and we have seen the problems ever since. First of all, we need to understand that the Federal Reserve is not federal. It is not a government agency. It is actually owned by a conglomerate of private banks, the likes of the Citibank and JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, and all the other banks. There's a plethora of private banks that own the Federal Reserve Bank and that have the sole power over the issuing of currency. And if you don't believe me, let's listen to former Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan when he explained the proper relationship between the president and the chairman of the board of the Federal Reserve.
What is the proper relationship? What should be the proper relationship between a chairman of the Fed and a president of the United States?
Well, first of all, the Federal Reserve is an independent agency, and that means basically that there is no other agency of government which can overrule actions that we take. So long as that is in place and there is no evidence that the administration or the Congress or anybody else is requesting that we do things other than what we think is the appropriate thing, then what the relationships are don't frankly matter. And I've had very good relationships with presidents.
There's an aura of such confidence when this man speaks naturally, because at that time he was the sole responsible entity to issue currency and set monetary policy. But what does that mean? Why is that a problem? What is our money? What is the dollar, the United States dollar, and the vast majority of all currencies in the world backed by? Absolutely nothing. The full faith and credit of the United States government, that means absolutely nothing. What it really means is that the United States and its people have to borrow their own currency against interest from a conglomerate of private banks. If that isn't the recipe for totalitarianism and what is happening right now in this world today, then I don't know what is. So the truth is the United States government doesn't issue currency. There is no more lawful money. There's only legal tender, and that legal tender is issued by the Federal Reserve. And You cannot take those Federal Reserve dollars and exchange them for legal money, which would be gold and silver. You can't do that anymore. That's been done away with. Of course, even though this Federal Reserve Act was passed by a Democrat majority and a Democrat president, doesn't mean that Republicans weren't just as much involved in it. As a matter of fact, it was Richard Nixon, the Republican president, who had done away with the gold standard. So now the money is backed by nothing. It shows in our debt to GDP ratio here in the United States. It's now at 128%, which is absolutely ridiculous. It's an unimaginable amount of debt which cannot be paid back. What does that mean? If we were to pay back all debt, public and private, there would be no more money, because that's the only way money comes into existence, fiat money that is when through the instrument of debt. So only credit creates new money. When we repay that credit, there is no more money, but there is still money owed, because the interest that we need to pay on that money we borrow is never included in the principal amount. And this, my friends, is on a very simple level explain how the whole economy works and why 95% of all debates in Congress, on TV, among economists, and other leaders is completely useless, because they do not actually talk about what we need to talk about. The secret party, the FRP, that is running the United States and other parts of the world. And there were very few politicians on both sides of the aisle who ever dared to speak the Fed's name, especially in a negative context. One of the heroes who used to do that on the daily was Congressman Ron Paul, Dr. Ron Paul. You can watch him on the Ron Paul Liberty Report. His son, Senator Rand Paul, on occasion speaks about that as well. But Ron Paul was really a champion to audit and end the Federal Reserve. And the power over lawful money needs to be reinstated and returned to the American people. So this becomes especially important as in 2023 now, we're going to see the announcement, I believe, for the digital bank currency, for a digital currency by the central bank, so Federal Reserve digital currency, if you will. It'll be the digital dollar, and this is the ultimate end goal for complete control over all transaction, private and public, because you will have no more anonymity. You won't be able to just pay somewhere cash, because there won't be none. That is their end goal. Now I'm asking you, if you have an entity that can print and digitally now produce money out of thin air, why would there be any need for poverty? Why would anyone need to suffer from lack if it can be simply typed into a computer and produced? This is, of course, the question that's been asked many, many times. However, they only print money like crazy and put it into circulation to serve their own needs and to serve the needs of the ultra wealthy corporations that they're in bed with. They never do it to actually serve the people, because that was not in the plan. The plan was formulated probably way before, but it was really formulated, and an action plan was set into motion after the infamous Jekyll Island meeting of a few private bankers that decided it was time, no more nonsense, no more government overreach. We're going to go into private bankster overreach, and we're going to create the Federal Reserve, a central bank. Against Thomas Jefferson has warned repeatedly, and other leaders who have experience have warned against this concept repeatedly, and see where it has led us. So if we really want to create shift on all levels, we will need to create a shift in the monetary and currency policies, how it's issued, who it's issued by, and how that system works. There's actually a plethora of great developments by people, by mathematicians, by just very smart people that have come up with great systems, but that of course never makes it into the mainstream. But we will have to tackle this issue as the people, we the people. We can't leave it to the politicians, because they're bought and paid for, obviously, because they don't speak about this. When was the last time you heard a politician on either side of the aisle really seriously speak about the Fed and speak about the repealing of the Federal Reserve Act? Nobody dares to say it. That's how dangerous this can be. We would say, let's start with an audit. Let's start with an honest audit, independent, where people can actually see how the Federal Reserve operates, how it has been operating since 1913, and what we can do about it. And then the second step would be to start bringing the best minds to the table to create an actual currency backed by the people, created for the people. All right, Inspired Tribe, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being here with us. We love you, we appreciate you, and we'll be back with you again very, very soon. We're more dedicated than ever to provide authentic, truthful, and uncensored information and inspiration. That's why we created the Inspired community on the free speech platform Locals. There's no censorship, a free flow of information, and it's more personal and intimate. And you can join us as a free member or a paid supporter. Please visit inspired.locals.com and join us today.